You know, with the lack of any traditional games coming out in recent years has made me look back and appreciate the times where we got more than one game releasing on the same day. 2016 is the 12th birthday to my favorite game of all time, Metroid Prime 2, and I do mean it when I say this is probably the game, along with Fusion, that I have played the most in my life. Echoes is usually what many consider to be their least favorite out of the Prime trilogy, and that's not saying it's bad or anything. I mean, being the least favorite one in what is considered to be one of gaming's best trilogies isn't a bad thing. But many fans dislike some of its annoying Dark Aether mechanics, the new beam ammo idea, and the difficult bosses that give many players a hard time. But to me, this game triumphs over Prime 1. Sure, much of the gameplay is still the same, but as opposed to fix what is not broken, it decided to expand upon where its predecessor did not focus in, telling us a more compelling story through gameplay. I guess the best example I can give is that, to me, Echoes is the Empire Strikes Back of the Metroid Prime trilogy, by being the darkest point in the series and helping foreshadow the events to come in the final act. But enough of that. What is it that I mean about the story? Well, did you ever realize how one of the stories this game has to offer is essentially about Samus proving herself worthy of carrying the Luminoth name? Samus' mission at the beginning of Echoes was about finding the whereabouts of the Galactic Federation Squad Bravo, and once she finds their corpses and learns about what happened to them, she is determined to figure out the origins of the mysterious alien menace that took them out. She knows something strange is going on this planet, because moments before finding the Federation wreckage, she saw some dark matter repossessing some of the Federation corpses and what looked like an evil version of herself in a weird dark dimension with these nightmarish creatures. And once we continue exploring its surface, we manage to find a temple in the middle of the map, and we decide to go inside hoping to learn more about this planet. Here our hunter meets with a new alien life form known as Umos, the last sentinel of the Luminoth, who after an expository dialogue reveals to us the plight of their species. The Luminoth once lived in peace in their home planet of Aether, until a fateful day where a meteor crashed on it, and with it came a dreadful species who began to destroy everything in their path, known as the Ying. Umos then pleads to Samus to help him recover the storing lights of Aether, which is the life source of their world, from the shadowy creatures, and to perhaps convince her of helping him, he uses the proposition that if the Ying aren't stopped here, they could invade many other planets including Samus' home world. A fun thing to point out is that during this entire time, Samus had her cannon pointed at the Luminoth during his speech, and rightfully so. For all she knows, Umos could have been the one controlling the dark creatures all along. At this point, the Luminoth is desperate for anybody who can help him save his species, and coincidentally, you stop what could have been the final attack by the Ying to claim the last light of Aether a few moments ago. Samus, with reasons unknown, agrees to aid Umos, and he sends her to recover the light from the Agon Waste temples. And what many don't really see is that this is a test to Samus to see if she's strong enough to carry the Luminoth name and become their savior. Once we reach Agon Waste is where the horrors of the war start to sink in. We are greeted with a desolate desert filled with structures that are rusting from the time left without care. The area feels dead, abandoned, and it reminds Samus of the Chozo ruins from the first game. And here's where we start to realize the true reason of why maybe Samus decided to help the Luminoth. Aether was struck by a mysterious meteor, just like Talon 4, and we saw firsthand the horrors it brought. Maybe Samus feels that she can perhaps save the Luminoth from their doom, unlike her adopted race. After collecting the 3 keys to the temple, the hunter now understands the plight of the Luminoth a lot better, seeing firsthand what the Ings were capable of doing even to the space pirates. And once she confronts the first temple guardian is when the force of the Ying is starting to show. Amorbis, while not menacing at first, reflects how the Ying are manipulating and reshaping the flora and fauna of the planet to fit their will, just like the face undead on Talon 4. Once defeating the boss, the hunter is able to gain a new power-up, probably the second most important in the game, the Dark Suit. This marks the point where Samus leaves her Chozo legacy behind for a moment to become the last warrior of the Luminoth species, gaining their armor to take the fight back to the Ying. And with the returning light to the Agon Waste temple, she proves to Umos her worth of becoming one of their kin. Samus is then sent to Torvus Bog, the area that I and many other fans will agree is the best area in music of the Prime trilogy. Samus now blends with her environment, like if she was starting to feel at home on this planet. And an even more interesting detail is that her virus suit blended well with the Agon Waste environment, maybe sinking in the whole metaphor of the Chozo from the previous game. Another great attention to the story is the way each of the temple's holograms talk to Samus. While not dead, we first meet Umos, who is rather desperate to find someone who can help him save his kind. Then Aisha in Agon Waste seems more calm and informative to whoever decides to set out and continue their fight, compared to Avok and Torvis, who's rather skeptical of Samus and her abilities. He as a Luminov warrior may not be fully convinced that Samus is worthy of continuing their fight. And we lastly have O'Lear, who is displayed as more hopeful of Samus's abilities. If someone managed to reach all the way to their fortress, they must be strong enough to pose a threat to the Ying. But he himself warns us that within the Sanctuary Fortress lies our hardest challenge yet, as it is also the Ying's home, which has never fallen during the war. There's also some interesting visual storytelling going on, which is an area where the Prime games shine. O'Lear's corpse takes most of the screen's foreground, but his hologram is projecting out of his chest, like if his soul, as well as the one of the other fallen sentinels, still lingers within the temples, unable to find peace until someone restores the light of their world. But O'Lear did mention that the Ying Hive has never fallen, and this brings us to the guardian of its temple, the Colossal Quadraxis. Arguably the most memorable fight in this game and perhaps in the trilogy, this machine is the result of a humble, once peaceful species being forced to create weapons, fortress, and machines to aid them in a war to survive. The Quadraxis stands as an ultimate weapon created by the Luminov, and the Ying are now controlling it to protect their home, as if they have taken over the Luminov legacy. So this fight isn't only an epic boss fight, but is also the ultimate Luminov weapon facing against the ultimate Choso bioweapon. This fight in a way symbolizes which of the two species is superior, and Samus, now as a Luminov warrior, must find a way to surpass the once protector of the species, and more importantly, regain the legacy that was stolen. After a long and arduous fight, the Choso warrior stood strong against the Luminov machine, and we restored the three lights of Aether to their rightful temples. Once we returned to Umos, we learn of a last fourth light that hides within the dark dimension of their sacred temple. But to aid us in this final journey, we're gifted with a new power-up after proving ourselves worthy of rising above any previous Luminov. The power-up we receive is the Light Suit, armor so powerful and divine that it can't be affected by any of Dark Aether's toxins. But what seems like a regular upgrade is maybe a ritual of Samus transcending the Luminov and becoming one with their light. You perhaps are now on the same plane to be considered as a deity to these people. And before you set out to the final battle, you look at all the dormant Luminov who await their awakening once the light is brought back to their people. These poor beings went to what could be an eternal slumber, awaiting for someone like you to save their world. We now feel the pain and agony of the Luminov, wanting freedom from the Ying, and after unleashing their wrath onto their emperor and extinguishing their world, you return the last light of Aether, and with it, you also return all of your power-ups. Samus might not see herself enjoying the life of being a deity or savior of a particular species, and instead decides to return to her previous rank as a Choso warrior, honoring her roots. It's almost like she can find peace on one planet knowing that somewhere in the universe, someone is in need of her help. And with one last thanks from all the Luminov who are finally awaking from their endless nightmare, Samus just waves them goodbye, not looking back and heading into the light. Almost like if saving an entire planet was nothing to her. All of this storytelling was conveyed to us through short cutscenes and the way the game was designed to tell us more through its gameplay and level design. We didn't only experience Samus becoming a Luminov, but we explored their home, learned about their history, and wondered what could this planet look like at a previous time. And that sense of mystery is what made me fall in love with the series many years ago, and made me want to learn more about the person inside the armor.